All right. So, okay. So you said you've really been good about cutting out processed sugars, simple sugars in your diet for the most part, and then just the other day, I assume you were at a birthday party or something and had some cake, or was it
We
just
were at,
feel like having cake and went and had some cake?
no, we were at Jordan and Nate's wedding.
Oh yeah.
They got married Saturday.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so I decided, it's a wedding, and James and I we're in with the family and the whole procession. I thought you gotta have a piece of cake. So I had a little tiny sliver, and I was just amazed at how unsatisfying that was because I got a nice cup of coffee. I set the scenario for the small sliver of cake I was going to enjoy it, and it was just like, meh. It
Yeah.
wasn't that great.
Yeah.
I know.
That's a good sign though,
So,
right? That means, I
oh
mean,
yeah, I used to.
you're, go ahead.
That was my treat, for a lot of years.
Yeah.
A lot of years was, well, I've been good today, so I deserve a cupcake or a piece of pie or a piece of cake or, Bible study. We study with a lot of older people, and they tend to bring sugary treats
Baked
as
good.
a treat.
Yeah.
And so yes. And so James and I started bringing like charcuterie trays, meat and cheese and veggies and crackers. So yeah, so
Kind
we
of
weren't
be a
adding
little
to the
healthier. Yeah.
problem.
Yeah. It's funny how the most convenient foods or the most common foods that we have at meetings or um, get-togethers are usually high sugar, high salt, which it makes sense, right? Those are the most addicting types of food because they give us that quick burst of dopamine and our brain runs on carbs, carbohydrates, and so the simple
Mhm.
sugars are like it's kind of like mainlining a stimulant. It goes right to our brain.
Yeah.
And it's like, whoa, okay, that feels good. Um, and so it's very common for people to, in our day and age with our food
Mhm.
industry, it's, very, very processed, highly processed, very saturated with carbohydrates and salt and all kinds of different chemicals. And it is an addiction. I mean, it is as much of an addiction as anything else, right? I mean, it's fortunately it doesn't cause most of us to go out and rob banks and, hurt people to get our sugar fix, but it is a very uh, real addiction that we have to address. So by cutting those carbohydrates out of your um, diet, especially if you can do it for at first, you're probably not going to feel great, right? Is that kind of your experience when you first cut it out? Did you feel like you're like, oh my gosh, I don't feel good. I'm like running on fumes here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was rough. I took sugar and started cutting back on caffeine at the same time.
Ooh,
So I felt like I was hit by a truck.
yeah.
Yeah. That was rough because I drink coffee all day. Throw a cup of water down once in a while, but coffee was all I drink. So,
Yeah, I'll be honest, that's probably my crutch is coffee. I love a good hot cup of coffee and I
yeah.
don't know if it's even it doesn't really give me that energy buzz or whatever. I
Mhm.
just enjoy coffee, but um,
Mhm.
yeah, that's rough if you're eliminating all those things at once, you're really feeling it. So, but
It was.
hey, way to hang in there though. That shows how
Whew.
tough you are, so, um, but yeah,
So,
what happens is our bodies are like hybrid cars. We can run on fat or we can run on sugar, right?
Mhm.
And sugar is going to be the more immediate, quick burst kind of energy, where fat is a
Mhm.
more economic and more efficient fuel source.
Mhm.
But unfortunately, like I said, our food system is basically geared towards simple processed sugars. And so then we constantly are putting that in our body, then our metabolism shifts to prefer the sugar because it's the path of least resistance. So then that just
Mhm.
reinforces us to need more sugar because that's what we're running on, And there is that emotional side, the neurotransmitter side of things where that sugar stimulates the dopamine in our brain, and we're like, oh wow, I feel better when I have some sugar. And so then again, it's just kind of um, reinforcing that habit, that cycle. So it's really probably one of the biggest struggles that people have when they start in our programs is to start to cut out the sugars and the stimulants and things like that to see what we're dependent on that we need to cut out.
Mhm.
So but yeah,
So with with the carbohydrates, I used to, I used to eat a lot of them because they're comfort food.
sure.
And so I've started cutting out those, sometimes with breakfast I'll have hash browns, but with dinner and lunch and stuff like that, I don't. It's pretty rare anymore that I have a main carb thing to satisfy. So is that okay? I mean, does my body need those?
Let's think about um 500 years ago. What did people survive on in terms of what was a carbohydrate? What was available as a
They
carbohydrate
didn't have them.
500 years ago? They didn't have Twinkies, right? They didn't make cookies, right? So the the most probably the most common carbohydrate that people would have would be a fruit, some berries, depending on where you live
Okay.
too, right? Like your climate and things like that. So
Mhm.
most of the time we lived on protein and fats, right?
Mhm.
So no, it's not a bad thing to eliminate or reduce your amount of carbohydrates. Ideally, the only source of carbohydrates that we should have in our diet is from fruit and vegetables, right? Some vegetables have
Okay.
carbohydrates, like your sweeter ones like corn, carrots, those sorts of things have maybe some tomato, tomato might have a little more carbohydrates in them than other vegetables. So that really, ideally, again, it's not we're not in a perfect world, but if you really wanted to be like, okay, what do I need to do to be as healthy as possible, then uh, shifting to where your only source of carbohydrates are fruits and vegetables is ideal. So,
Okay.
and you think about why, because those fruits and vegetables have a lot of other things in them as well, right? So they have fiber, vitamins, minerals. Um, Probably back in the day, you were getting some dirt in there, some probiotics. Who knows
Right.
what else? You know what I mean? And of
Yeah.
course, everything was organic. It wasn't sprayed and doused with
Yeah.
pesticides that we do with our food nowadays. So
Mhm.
if we can go back to as close to what we've been created to eat, right? I imagine in the Garden of Eden that there weren't any Twinkies growing on the trees or anything like that, and there was no pesticides. You know what I mean? Like it was just organic, organic food that
Yeah.
I'm eating. If we can go back to that as much as possible. And again, I'm not I'm not gonna say, oh, I only eat organic and I never eat junk food, but I definitely try.
Oh,
I'm
sure.
aware of it, and I try to eliminate or I limit that as much as I possibly can. There's days when I splurge and I'm like, oh,
Hmm.
candy bar sounds good, and then I eat it, and then I'm like, oh, that, like you said, that wasn't as satisfying as I hope it was. So.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good questions there. So, yeah, and we were kind of talking about this with another patient about how do we how do we prevent or how do we curb our sugar cravings? One is just like you did, just cold turkey it and suffer for a couple weeks. Stay committed and you get through it. I mean, that's going to be your
Yeah.
quickest way to do it. But another way is, if we
Yeah.
just start to replace those uh, highly processed, simple, high glycemic foods. So high glycemic meaning when you eat it, it raises your blood sugars to a certain, everything's relative, right? So like, say if a tablespoon
Hmm.
of table sugar is going to raise your blood sugar by 100, then you want to pick foods that don't raise it as much as that table sugar would, right? So then I think like a piece of white bread may raise your blood sugar by 70 instead of 100. So still pretty high, right? Still
Right.
raising blood sugar. So just beginning to choose
Yeah.
foods that are lower on the glycemic index in terms of like fruit. Uh, Berries are the
Mhm.
best. They don't have as high of a glycemic index, so that it's not raising your blood sugars. But then if you make sure and just incorporate some protein with those carbohydrates. So if you're having some berries, have some nuts, seeds, or some other form of uh, protein or fat with those things, and then that helps to keep those blood sugar levels from spiking too much. And then the more stabilized your blood sugars are, the better you feel because you're not having these extreme ups and downs because of your blood sugars, right? Um, and that's when we
Hmm.
need more coffee and stimulants because we have this blood sugar crash, and now we got to eat something to raise our blood sugar again. So now we're on this vicious imbalance. So I think,
Yes. For many years, many, many years.
yeah. And
Yeah.
are
Isn't
you, are
that
you
something?
are you currently going through our curriculum, our lifestyle curriculum, the
Yeah.
individual stuff? Yeah.
Yeah. So we meet with Dr. Willie next Tuesday to start,
Yeah.
so we don't start till next Tuesday, but I'm going through and answering all the questions and, you know,
Yep.
yeah, filling all the stuff out. So,
Good.
hmm.
Yeah, so that's a good way to, I mean, you've already kind of got a head start by already eliminating coffee and sugar. Um, so you've
Hmm.
already got that head start there, which is awesome. So, I mean, it really just it's going to help just kind of walk you through just seeing how certain foods affect you and being more aware of that. So now you know what foods trigger make you feel worse. So then you can have a just better plan and just being so you feel better every day. Uh,
Hmm.
and then you have the choice if you want to splurge and you have, like we talk about having family events or special celebrations where there's always going to be some sort of cake or dessert or something, and not freaking out when you have a piece of cake
Hmm.
because overall you're really
Right.
eating healthy and taking care of yourself in the long run.
Right. So, James is a carnivore. He's an absolute carnivore. So, and I do okay, but Are there other proteins besides just meat?
Um, I mean, there's certain nuts have a certain amount of protein and fat. I mean, yeah, you're obviously your animal protein is your easiest, probably easiest, most readily available source of proteins. Um,
Hmm.
I, I mean, you can do like a protein drink, but then there again, it's highly processed, so it's not the best form
Yeah,
of protein, right? So, um,
right.
but yeah, I mean, you can in terms of different. I'm just trying to think of like alternative. I mean, obviously, I don't know. I don't tofu. I'm not sure if I'm really big on that, but definitely a good question for the health coach when you have that phone call with the health
Okay.
coach. Let's see. Let me just look real quick.
Like after um when we got home last night, I was feeling kind of munchy.
Uh-huh.
And when I had the cake Saturday, I was thinking, oh gosh, that now, the fond memories of, oh, it wasn't that bad. It maybe even tasted good. So when I got home last night, I had some cottage cheese with celery and little red tomatoes cut up in it, and it was pretty satisfying.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's great. Yeah, cottage cheese, some dairy products definitely have some good protein there. If as long as you don't have any problems with dairy.
right.
Just looking here, so yeah, lentils, beans, chickpeas are a good source of protein. But like I
Mm,
said, meat, animal meat is probably your most readily available, and it's got most of the, like the iron and the folate and stuff like that in it. So, um,
right.
so if somebody's a vegetarian, they may need to do some supplementation with other supplements and whatnot. But
Right.
quinoa is a good source of protein. Um, so yeah, there's quite a few different things as long as it's like basically, yeah, I mean your vegetables, some of your vegetables, but beans, chickpeas, lentils, those kind of things. So
Okay.
whole
Yeah,
food,
I can
one
do it.
ingredient, single ingredient foods are always your best option. And
Right.
yeah, so but yeah, so it sounds like you're doing awesome in terms of your sugar, cutting out the sugars and
Mhm.
just really trying to make those changes. For other people that maybe they're struggling with that, what sort of advice would you give them?
Think of the end result. Think of the prize at the
Yeah.
end of it. Think of um how much better you'll feel, when you don't feel ashamed of putting on a bathing suit. When somebody says, "Ooh, let's go to lava," you don't go,
I don't want to
you
go in
know,
public.
yeah. So, the end results I just keep inside about seeing activities that I have coming up that before with that extra weight, it was hard to do stairs. It was hard to go to Colorado and hike to the Red Rocks. So for me, it's that goal of looking better and feeling better, and feeling better about myself. So I don't feel that shame that you sometimes feel with that added weight. So I just keep thinking, that cupcake, it's not your friend. It's not going to do you any good. So you don't need that. You don't want that. You want to fit into that little dress this summer. That's what you want to do. So,
Yeah, that's a good reminder remind yourself of your why. Why are you doing this?
mhm.
What's the down the road benefit? What's your goal here, right? Because we kind of I mean, it's good to live, it's good to live in the moment, but it's also important to
Mhm.
think long term um, where you're headed, right? Because if you just live in the moment and do what tastes good and feels good, uh, it's going to cost you in the long term, right? Unless you just have um, a natural tendency to eat healthy, which some people are just freaks, they just don't like sugar and they, they eat healthy and that's just what really makes them happy. And so most of us have
Yeah.
to learn that, we have to learn like, oh, I actually feel better when I eat
Mhm.
healthy. And, um, I used to eat a lot of, high carb, high, just, gross food. And I had to learn that once I stopped eating that stuff, I felt so much better. So
Mhm.
now it's a motivator for me to you know, keep doing that and just again, working with people too, like all the time, like just seeing the health problems that our our American diet causes is a
Oh
good,
boy.
for me is a good reminder of like, man, I don't want to feel bad. I want to feel healthy and I want to age well, so I like that, find your purpose, find your why and remind yourself of that when you start
Hmm.
to feel like you want to just kind of give up and go back to the old way of eating junk food and not
Hmm.
exercising, huh? So,
So we went to a wedding Saturday, and I had picked out a dress when they first told us they were getting married, and I had put on enough weight that it was really tight the last time I tried it on. And after cutting the sugar out for a couple months, I'm down, I don't know, probably close to 10 pounds. And so I was able to put the dress on and it looked lovely. And I felt really good. I felt good about what I had done, and so I try to do those positive affirmations with myself. Good job, Sherry. You did this. Nobody did it for you. You did this on your own,
yeah,
so that those positive affirmations towards myself. And we get confused about that being conceited or prideful, but it's not. It's just a recognition of you accomplished something
yeah,
worthwhile.
yeah, definitely. I mean, there's nothing wrong with telling yourself good job and saying, "Hey, I'm
Mhm.
doing good. I've done this," and encourage yourself instead of we're so used to beating ourselves up and shaming ourselves and oh, you
Mhm.
no good, dirty, rotten, you screwed it up
Yeah.
again, and like,
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, be friendly to yourself and encourage yourself, to continue to make these healthy changes and really uh, just taking your health as the most important thing that you got in your life is your health.
Mhm.
So good for you. Good job. That's awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's good.
Well, you're awesome. I appreciate you getting on here again and
Yeah.
sharing your experiences and yeah, I'm proud of you. So keep it up and it's just going to get better from here. I think, we haven't even started your program yet, so it's going to be
I
good stuff.
know.
So, yeah.
Well, right
Yeah.
on.
So,
Thanks for your time. I
yeah.
appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. It's good stuff.
Yep. All right, Sherry. Well, you have a good week and yeah, we'll talk to you soon, okay?
All right. Thank you.
Okay. See ya.
Bye.